Before we begin, this video is based on our own experience with Sons of Sparta and reflects our personal views on what it offers and how it feels to play. As always, we recommend you make your own informed call by looking into the game yourself and ensuring it matches your expectations, standards, and personal values. With that out of the way, let's begin. Sons of Sparta. Far from a AAA production, the $30 PS5 exclusive Sons of Sparta swaps Kratos' familiar tools for a spear and shield setup, and uses the prequel framing to show a less hardened side of him. The title also goes through a major genre shift, shifting from the series' traditional third-person action-adventure format to a retro-inspired 2D action platformer with focus on exploration. As its title might imply, Sons of Sparta revolves around both Kratos and his lesser-known brother Deimos. Set during Kratos' brutal Spartan training years, the setting unfolds long before the series' main events. Kratos and Deimos are young soldiers in Sparta, and have only recently gotten the freedom to travel beyond the city-state's walls on various missions. Now, right off the bat, it's important to talk about how visually distinct and brilliant Sons of Sparta looks. The title makes use of a pixel art style that combines a lo-fi look with incredible detail, especially in its environments. Character sprites are equally strong here, and enemy silhouettes communicate threats at a glance. The audio is fantastic as well, with attacks sounding chunky, parries culminating in a satisfying sound effect, and the general background score doing a great job of setting the right tone for the setting. The story starts off quite simple. Kratos and Deimos have been tasked with retrieving specific tools. However, the actual plot starts shortly after the two set out on this mission, when they learn that one of their fellow cadets hasn't returned from a field exercise. While Kratos has considered this friend dead thanks to the general deadliness of the wider world in this game, Deimos is more optimistic here and persuades his brother to help him find him. It's difficult to convey the novelty of getting to see a young Kratos, since we've only ever really seen the man either entirely consumed by rage or quiet and somber. Here, however, we see a Kratos that has a sense of humor, as often showcased with the banter he often engages in with Deimos. It's also interesting to see the level of duty he feels towards Sparta and its traditions, especially in light of how things would eventually turn out. The presence of Deimos and the brotherly love the two share is also wonderful dramatic irony. Throughout the journey, you get to face several enemies based on different myths. Along with the standard foes like armed skeletons and wild animals, we also get more interesting enemies like centaurs, cyclopses, and birds. The latter tend to show up in the form of boss fights, with their very first appearance being a great example of what to expect from the future. The sheer variety of boss encounters in Sons of Sparta is quite impressive, ranging from fights against particularly strong soldiers using their own unique weapons to beasts. My personal favorite boss fight from my time with the game was one of the birds, Apate. While it used many of the same moves as its brethren, it also offered an added level of threat, thanks to its use of aerial bombardment and poison. Combat in Sons of Sparta starts off simple, then steadily grows in depth as you unlock new abilities, either through your own skill tree or through new gear. Taking a cue from Ragnarok, your spear's various parts can give you different abilities in this game. While the tip of the spear largely focuses on offering passive bonuses, the handle offers changes to your main combo. The pommel, on the other hand, gives you active abilities, like a vertical slam, or a combination of powerful thrusts. These pair up quite nicely with the otherwise standard system that largely has Kratos attacking, dodging, blocking, and parrying enemies. While largely fine as a system, it never quite feels like it goes far enough in offering loot as a reward for exploration. Big glowing chests will often only give you crafting materials, and new pieces of equipment that might offer fun abilities feel, unfortunately, far too rare here. On the other hand, the main exploration-centric progression system offers a fantastic excuse to explore every single nook and cranny of the game's large map, since they give you tangible boosts to your damage and defenses. The skill tree lends itself to offering improvements to your base offensive and defensive abilities, along with some new ones that don't feel entirely necessary. One of them, for example, allows you to pull off a downward spear slam, with further nodes on the tree making it more efficient in terms of spirit requirement and the damage it deals. The enhancements to defensive abilities like dodging and parrying are more fun since they give you new ways to actually counterattack. The combat is often a balancing act where you're managing your health, your spirit, and your magic. While the latter is largely used for the various tools you'll find during your travels, your health and spirit have a fun tug of war going on with each other. Regular attacks on enemies give you more spirit, which you can then use by holding R1 alongside your attacks to deal less health damage to your enemies but more stun damage. Spirit enhanced attacks also have the added benefit of causing enemies to generate healing orbs. Stun an enemy and you can pull off a brutal kill, an instant kill that gives you plenty of health, spirit, and magic in the process. Now, the only real complaint I had with the combat and traversal in Sons of Sparta largely came down to its controls feeling awkward at first. Since fast-paced combat-centric side-scrollers are often best played with the D-pad, the fact that Sons of Sparta only uses the analog stick for movement feels like a strange decision. Aside from that, having a special button for climbing a ladder also feels unnecessary, since many platformers let you simply basically climb by holding up or down, of course. These are of course minor quibbles, and they largely disappeared once I actually got used to the control scheme here. Owing to its lo-fi look, Sons of Sparta is generally quite light on the PS5's hardware. There were never any frame rate drops regardless of how many enemies or visual effects were happening on the screen. Load times were also snappy, which is a great thing, since on the higher difficulties, you might find yourself dying quite often on some of the game's bosses. Speaking of which, newcomers to the genre will also find the 3 distinct difficulty options tailored to your experience with platformers and side-scrollers to be quite welcoming here. Sons of Sparta is a fantastic platformer and a true breath of fresh air for the genre. The fact that it's on the shorter side of the genre, coming in at around 10 hours or so, also helps things out. There's a certain lightheartedness that comes with the story despite its brutal and violent combat. Both Kratos and Deimos' conversations often go for slightly too long, but it's still quite fun to hear their banter every now and then. Combine that with excellent combat that peaks during its epic boss battles, and you've got a thrilling new way to take in the Spartan tale. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.